All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Midwest Mountaineering Outdoor Adventure Expo. With me, I have Gary Scott. He's going to be presenting on trekking in Everest, the Everest region in Nepal, excuse me. Sounds like Nepal has opened up for travel and got some exciting treks happening there later this year with Gary's company, which we'll talk about, Right Path Adventures. We do have some time for questions and answers and such at the end of the show. So without further ado, here's Gary.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be back chatting with folks from Minneapolis. Gosh, I can't remember how many years, but I've probably been coming to the expo for 10 years, and I've had a lot of great experiences there. Certainly frozen my butt off many times. It's been very cold sometimes, but and I'd get a heater for my feet. One time I had battery powered heated boots. Other times I bought yoga mats just because the ground has been so cold. So I miss being there with you all this year, and you probably miss the wine that I would often serve at my booth. Anyway, I'm very excited to be here and talk virtually to you all about Nepal, trekking in Nepal. And please send me any questions you have. And I've already had a couple by email, so I'll answer those at the end. But I'd like to cover a lot of different aspects about trekking in Nepal. Perhaps you're considering going. And I'll talk about everything from altitude to equipment to the right season to go. And then we'll look at some pictures of Nepal, show you what people are wearing, and yeah, just try and cover as much as possible. But pretty quickly, my background, for those of you who haven't heard it, I grew up in rather a flat area of Australia. And my father was a diplomat and worked in the military. And we went to the US when I was 6, whereas probably where I got picked on at school and adopted the lingo. So I do sound a bit more American than Australian. But we went to Canada and paddled out on Lake Louise. And I remember looking up at the mountains for the first time and asking my father a couple of questions. And I turned to him and I said, I'm going to be a mountain climber. Well, and at the age of 8, I found out that Mount Everest was the highest mountain in the world. And it became my goal to climb it. Well, I got into bushwalking and then started technical rock climbing at the age of 10. Continued that through high school, doing a lot of hard walking in the bush. We call it bushwalking because there's no trails. And then dropped out of university, and I joke that I got my PhD in full-time rock climbing. And at the age of 24 in 1983, I left Sydney Airport with a day pack, a passport, $10,000 and a one-way ticket to Kathmandu. And I joke that I'm kind of still on that same trip. So when I got there, we explored Kathmandu, and then we went on with my girlfriend, a trek to the Langtang Valley. And back then I wore cotton pants and rubber flip-flops. And we hiked right up into the snow and then turned around because we were very cold. We then traveled through India. I got to Sri Lanka, and I just like, I got to go back to Nepal. I mean, I just fell in love with it. The people. I flew back and I took the bus to the trailhead, Lama Sangu, and hiked 12 days to Lukla, where now you can fly in, and had an amazing month trekking to Everest Base Camp. And I've even got some photos from that very memorable trip. But since then, I've been a professional mountain guide and now more walking guide and trekking guide. I've done over 40 treks in Nepal. I've worked for numerous different companies, over 20 to the Everest region. guided 2 successful Everest expeditions. Everest is right. Whoa, it's hard to do this because it's kind of a mirror image. Everest is right there. And I've taken an expedition up Amadou Blanc, which is right there. And this photo actually is of the Everest region, you can see from behind me. So I love Nepal. I love the Sherpa people, and certainly being amongst the highest mountains on earth is a very, very exciting experience. So I'm hoping today will just be fun and informative. Nepal's changed a lot over the years, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, so why don't we, we'll put some slides on and I'll kind of talk while they are in the background. There, Adan, if you're there and you want to turn the slides on. Otherwise, the main trekking seasons are March, April, May, and the Everest climbing season is sort of April, May, June. And then basically September, October, November. I like November because it's often very clear days like this. It's a little cooler. And so May and October are the busiest trekking season. It does quite get busy on areas like the Everest Highway, as they call it. You know, so there's a toss up. If you go, I've trekked in every month of the year. I've trekked through the monsoon, which was quite an experience. Very wet, very humid, leeches, big spiders in the lodges because they're inside trying to get away from everything. I get, maybe we are screen sharing there. So this is. Can you guys, let me see. Yeah, I guess we are. So this is the Lhotse Wall. There's Mount Everest right there above the T, and this huge Lhotse Wall, which you can see from Tengboche Valley. Yeah, I mean, Kathmandu is a fascinating place. I recommend people spend 2 or 3 days there before a trek, a couple of days afterwards. You don't really want to spend a lot of time in Kathmandu before a trek. It's not the healthiest place in the world. The air quality is not that good. It's in a valley. They don't have strict environmental controls. So, and you want to protect your lungs and your breathing. So I even recommend, it's funny, somebody asked me, well, if we go to Nepal, do we have to wear a mask? And I said, well, I like wearing a mask in Nepal. There's a lot of dust on the roads, and I often wear a bandana when I'm hiking to keep the dust off the trail out of my throat, and to keep my throat moist, so it doesn't get dry. There's the infamous Khumbu cough, which a lot of people get from having a dry throat. So, and interestingly enough, Nepal is open right now. There is people trekking. There's an expedition on Everest right now. I have my own adventure travel company called Right Path Adventures. Right is in right hand. Right path, trying to keep people on the right path, and always try and do the right thing at the right time and find the right path for people. So it's been a lot of fun. The last 10 years I've been running that, mainly focused on Europe. And then I just decided I had so many people who wanted to go back to Nepal. I thought, let's do it. So I have 2 treks called an Everest Comfort Trek. So we don't go all the way into base camp, but just it's a 7-day trek, staying at the best lodges, eating the best food, with pretty much the top outfitter in Nepal. And you get to go with one of the better guides, maybe one of the best. So those are in November, and I have really just, I've sold out 2 trips, and I have 1 trip left, which where's the dates of that? It's like, anyway, you can look it up on my website. I should have it here, but oh yeah. No, you'd think I would, but I don't. Plus, I'm taking people in April next year. So it's a 12-day trip in total. Great experience. And people, if you have any questions, you can email me, you can call me. My email is gary@rightpathadventures.com. And you can certainly just go to my website and send an inquiry through that. There's different ways of trekking. We used to, my first trek was just independent. I carried my own pack, which was fine unless you're very fit, and the altitude can really affect your performance and how you acclimatize with a heavy pack. Some people hire a porter to travel with to carry their heavy stuff, and they just carry a day pack. And you can now, with the internet, you can pre-book lodges. Back when I first went, you walked until you decided, oh, I want to spend the night, and there was little tea houses. Or I've slept in some on people's verandas. I've slept in a shepherd's bamboo hut for the night next to him with his great big cookery knife. I thought, I probably have more wealth in my backpack than he's seen in his whole life. So I felt good to wake up the next morning. But you can go on a guided trek. And we used to camp, and I used to love it, because I'm an experienced camper, had a really decked out tent, and we would have a huge, group of Sherpas. We would have a cooking crew, a mess tent where we all ate. And sometimes we'd have 15 people in the trek, 15 Sherpas, Sherpa guides, Sherpa helpers, Sherpa cooks, and 30, 40, 50 porters carrying gear. In the Everest area, because of the altitude and it's colder, often you use the Zopkyo down lower, which is a cross between a cow and a yak, and then up high you use the yaks, which is pretty cool to see them. But now very few people camp anymore. There's been a lot more lodges built in the Everest area, and one reason I'm doing this comfort trek, which is just 7 days, and we go up to about 12,000 feet with an option to go up a higher peak for views, is that above where we go, the lodges really kind of decline in cleanliness, food, noise level. They're often crowded, and it's just not for me anymore. I just don't want to do it. So there are lodges to stay in. If you hike like in the Annapurna region, they're quite, quite nice. So yeah, so very few people camp, and it's not like you're probably going to carry all your own camping equipment, and there's food available everywhere at lodges. So yeah, very, very few groups camp now. Maybe REI, I think that's about it. So Nepal is open, as I mentioned. You have, from what I understand, and it's hard to get information out of Nepal right now just because a lot is closed, but I speak with my outfitter quite frequently. You need to have a positive COVID test, and you need to be signed up with a trekking agency. So just keep that in mind. And it'd probably be very wise to be vaccinated before you go, because like last year we were in Australia. I flew my wife, Katerina, back to Europe, and that morning, the King of Thailand, she was flying through Bangkok, said that you must have a negative test. So we had to rush to the airport. Luckily, we got rushed to the hospital. Luckily, we got there early and then back. So she was okay. So anything, if you're going to fly through somewhere and they could change at a moment's notice that you have to be vaccinated. And the other thing you really want to have these days is travel insurance. I'm in Utah. I'm going to be here for 6. I got travel insurance for being here. So let's see what other photos we've got. I hope you can see that. But I've spent the last 10 summers, except for 2020.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
I think you need to share your screen.
Okay. I thought I was.
No, we've just been, I think in the,
Okay. Let's see here. New share. How's that?
let me see here. Okay, got it up.
Great. Okay. So this shows the massive and beautiful Lhotse wall. That's Lhotse on the right. And then Everest is over here. And you can just see the summit pyramid of Everest. So this is a beautiful view with, yeah. So down the bottom there, that peak is Chakungri, which is 19,000 feet. So that gives you a bit of an idea right there. Wow. Yeah, pretty amazing. So as I said, yeah, this is a photo of me in the Dolomites of northern Italy, where I just went there 11 years ago and fell in love with it. So I've spent every summer there since, done over 100 week-long guided tours, and can't wait to get back. So I'm usually there in the summer. I've got a ticket back to Europe August 6th. My first trip is August 16th. I've got a couple of spaces left on a couple of trips, and on, let's see, Wednesday this week, I think at 2:00, I'm talking on the Dolomites. Tuesday, I'm talking about where I also go, Croatia, Slovenia, and Slovakia. So just to keep that in mind. But Dolomites is incredible, incredible place, great history. It's a Disneyland for hikers, 10,000 kilometers of trails. And I don't climb anymore, and I just love walking on trails, sleeping in a really nice lodge, eating good food, drinking some good wine, and just enjoying myself. So great culture, history, traditions there. So this is me hiking into, there's the Lhotse Nuptse Wall again, hiking into Everest Base Camp in 1983, 24 years old. That's my pack I carried the whole way. I rented some boots in Kathmandu, which was a big mistake because I got terrible blisters. Bought some socks in Namchi Bazaar. Had my lifestyle gym t-shirt, and bought some pants that didn't last very long. So yeah, I was, and I had an amazing experience. Long story. I won't bother you with it now, but ended up my food froze, my water froze. So I was out there for like 3 nights at Everest Base Camp, back when people said, you can't go to Everest Base Camp, only climbers go to base camp. I'm like, I'm going to go. So had an incredible experience. Ran into a couple of these guys. Here's Louis Bellis smoking cigarettes. This is his brother. This is Manny, sorry, and Louis. Ran into them, and I just spent 6 months staying with Manny in Brisbane. Just a great guy. And so this is after I came back from spending 3 nights. So I lost, I don't know, a lot of weight. But as you can see, I'm really into high-tech clothing there. I've got holes in my gloves. I do have some gaiters. We got snow on us. This is my friend Colin. I've got a nylon wind shirt that's pinned together with bobby pins. So yeah, we'll talk about clothing in a bit. But Nepal, there's so much to love about Nepal. The people are just so friendly. You walk along the trails and the kids are, saying namaste, which means I salute the God in you. And it's just such a wonderful experience. And as you can see here, the trails go past people's houses. So you're seeing how people live. And in the Everest region are the Sherpa people. And Sherpa actually means man from the east. They came from the Khan eastern area of Tibet over 400 years ago and settled in the Khumbu or Everest region. And so Sherpa is an ethnic group. It's not a job description. And many times, you'll have Nepalese as the porters or cooks or even guides on the trails. But Nepal's just a wonderful experience. And it's kind of sad because now in the Everest region, you've got Wi-Fi all the way up through the mountain. And the thing about Nepal that was trekking in Nepal that was so cool is that you head off and you had no communication with the outside world, no phones, no internet, and you were very much present and in the moment. And all you did was walk, and you had no decisions to make. You stopped at a house like this and asked if you could have some tea. Usually they'd sell you these little packets of biscuits, or lunch, and you'd have dal bhat, rice and lentils, which was as much as you could eat. And then when you got tired, you'd stop either in a village or a house and just say, "Hey, can I sleep here?" And you might say, "Hey, I'm going to walk for another hour." So there was no booking ahead. There was no checking with your friends. And now everyone's on the internet, and it's kind of sad. I mean, I know people are so connected these days that they probably appreciate that. But it really, back then, after 3 or 4 days trekking, you lost track of who you were, where you came from, what you used to do, and you were very much in the moment. And you just woke up and you walked and you trekked. And that's why trekking in Nepal, apart from the incredible Sherpa people and the incredible, beautiful mountains, was such a unique experience, because very few people, how many people go on vacation for 3 weeks and just sit on a beach, and that kind of gets boring. But where you have an active, interesting, fascinating, cultural, nature, spiritual, challenging, physical experience all at once, all packed into one package, it's pretty amazing. So I'm really fortunate and happy of the fact that I had that. And I'm always reminding people, whether we're in Europe or in Nepal, be here now. And I'll do that little speech in the morning, and to myself as well, to just say, "Hey, today you're in Nepal, be here now." So this is a photo later, much later, at the base of the Khumbu Icefall. And so on my Everest base camp treks, I would take people right to the base of the icefall. And it was here I'd say, "Okay, if you go any further than this, you're breaking the law." I've been through the icefall about 30 times. Incredible, incredible experience. And at the start of the season, the icefall doctors, as they call them, the Sherpas, take and fix the ropes. Back when I first went in 1991, it was a little thin rope, and it was a very scary experience. Now they have it a lot more wired, but as you can see, another beautiful day there. And what a lot of people don't realize is Nepal's on the same latitude as Florida. So you get very good weather. And when the sun's out, so I'm at 18,000 feet here, and I've got, probably a t-shirt, a long sleeve or 2 long sleeve layers, hiking boots, excuse me. And so the weather is often very good. It's, I mean, in the movies, you see blizzards and all that. It's kind of rare. And the mountains protect you from a lot of wind. So certainly it can snow, certainly it can be cold, but when the sun comes out, it can be really nice, kind of like Colorado in winter when the sun comes out. Yeah, let me think what else I want to talk about here. And on that photo, I've probably got long underwear on, and some kind of lightweight hiking pants. I never wear Gore-Tex hiking pants, and I only wear Gore-Tex if it's raining. I just don't like the feel of it. I always usually have a soft shell. So these are probably soft shell pants that are water repellent, wind repellent, and I usually wear pretty lightweight clothing. Gloves, I love lightweight gloves. Usually have two or three pairs of them because it's easy to go through the fingers, and sun protection is very important. You know, people often forget to put sunscreen on their ears, and chapstick is very important. The sun is very, very intense up there. In Nepal, there's a lot of different treks you can do. You can do treks in the Annapurna area. I've done the around the Annapurna a few times, though I've heard that they've built kind of roads up either side, so not like it used to be. But I think the next couple of years are going to be great for trekking in Nepal. There's going to be fewer people than before, and trekking, you know, it's gotten busy, it's gotten popular, and just doesn't, yeah, it's still great, but yeah, it's different. So this is kind of shows the route that I'm taking. A bit of it flying to Lukla airstrip, hike down to Phakting. So you fly into about, you know, Kathmandu's at 5,000 feet. So spend a couple of nights there for acclimatization. Fly into Lukla airstrip down to Phakting. So you spend your first night at about 8. Next day is kind of a jump. It's 2,500, 3,000 feet up to Namchi. So I'm always telling people we're going to go slow. We're going to drink a lot of water. And that's the key to acclimatization. You know, don't drink a lot of alcohol, don't drink a lot of caffeine, drink a lot of water, and go very, very slow. And experience is what really helps you in Nepal. And that's one reason to go with a guide, a Western guide, someone who understands altitude and can, I've had to ask my groups not to go faster than me on the hill to Namchi because, you know, they've trained in Colorado and they're used to hiking up hills fast, and, you know, they get there and they don't feel good. So we spend 2 nights in Namchi, and we hike up to little town of Kumjung up there, and then up to the Everest View Hotel, which is where that star is. So 2 nights in Namchi. Namchi is a fabulous place. They have a market there on the weekend, and little shops and restaurants and pizzerias and pool holes, and it's kind of like the old West. It's pretty cool. And then and there is a medical aid post at Kumjung. There's also the Sir Edmund Hillary School, which is fascinating, a monastery there, which you can see the Yeti scalp. And if you come with me, I will tell you my Yeti experiences. And then so if you kept going, you'd go to Tengrishu Monastery and up what we call the Everest Freeway, which it gets busier and the lodges do kind of go downhill. So we're going to stay in the top lodges in all these places, and then go up to Tame for 2 nights. And it's a great valley, gets you away from the hubbub of the Everest Valley, Everest Highway, and there's a great monastery there. And there's a walk we do up, optional walk up a peak where you can get to about 15,000 feet. So for a lot of people, that'll be a high point, 15 and a half. And then actually we don't go back this way. We're going to come back through right below Namchi to Monjo, and then up to Lukla and fly out. So it's just 7 days, 12 days away. Great experience. Oh, here it is. November 22nd to December 3rd. I just have 5 rooms and I take one of them. So really 4 rooms. So if you are interested in that, you can email me or call me. Everything's on the website. I'm very available. And the highlight of that is just to spend time with the awesome Sherpa people. We'll do some sightseeing in Kathmandu, and yeah, so it's just a small group, and I'll be with you the whole time. So it'll be a great time. So this is Namchi Bazaar. You can pretty much buy anything you need there. But this is typical. This is a group I took in 2012, 10 people on this same hike. Kathmandu and Namchi, but Namchi is a great place for a little bit of shopping. November is right before Christmas, so you can get all your Christmas shopping done. But I'm a big fan of trekking poles, whether you like it or not. It's kind of like wearing a helmet on a bike. Saves you if you ever slip, prevent you going over on your ankle, and it does take a tremendous amount of stress off your ankles, your knees, and your hips. You can see these guys, both of them are from Hawaii. So you can come from Minneapolis and you'll do fine, just like these guys did. Yeah, just listen to your guide. So you can see they've got lightweight trekking shoes. I've got a photo later of the ones I use, zip off pants. Probably the first day you might wear shorts, but after that you probably won't. And the Sherpa ladies aren't real thrilled to see gals in shorts. And from up there, if a cloud comes over or the wind blows, it gets cold very quickly. Or cooler. So long pants, yoga pants. Well, if your butt's covered, okay, but they're Buddhists. They're pretty conservative, so they won't say anything, but worth being respectful. And it's just a layering system. You have your lightweight long johns in case you need them. Often in the morning, it can be quite cool. Gloves, I like gloves, and hat, protect your self from the sun, sunglasses, sunscreen, light day pack, water handy. You can see the gal here has a camelback. I'm not a fan, but that's okay. And just a layering system, t-shirt, long, either merino, wool, or, like an icebreaker, all which you can get at Midwest Mountaineering. And there's people there that are going on these treks or have been on these treks. So just layering. And then when the sun comes out, I just stop and I just take a layer off. It takes 30 seconds and then you're not sweating and your clothes aren't getting wet. But as you can see, here you can buy anything. So if you forget something, you can get it. And this is just a typical day on the trail. So here we got a guy with, this is my friend Peter from Australia, who lightweight zip off pants. He's probably carrying too much. This is a day pack. That's about what I left Australia with. And that's a mistake people make. They carry too much in their day pack, just in case, and they just don't need it. But sun protection from the hat, lightweight long sleeve shirt, trekking poles, little puffy down jacket, as you can see these guys are wearing, Sherpa in front. We're heading over, this is Kumjung and Kundi, where there is an American Trekkers Aid post. So this is a wonderful little Sherpa village that a lot of people going to the Everest base camp don't bother stopping here, but it's got a great monastery, Edmund Hillary School. And so we stop off at one of my Sherpas, Pemba Tenzing, been trekking with for 30 years. We'll stop off at his house for either San Miguel or a cup of tea. And once again, you just you're so invited into their place, and they're some of the most funny people in the world. They're always laughing. They have a great attitude on life, and so yeah, it's just a wonderful experience. I think everyone in their lifetime should trek in Nepal. So this is, as you can see, the Zobkil on the left. This is not a yak. With our duffel bags, most people have 30 pounds in their duffel bags. Pemba Tenzing on the left. This is Nikamar, who was my cook for many years. And yeah, just great times with them. Oh my gosh, a lot of laughs, a lot of fun times. And I think that's a neat thing to go with a guide too, that has a lot of experience and a lot of deep relationships with these people, so you can get to know them as well. So this is actually trekking towards just above the Everest View Hotel, above Kundi and Kumjung, with Amadablan in the background, which my friend Steve Tickle got very close to climbing. This is the Lhotse face behind. And we're heading up to this ridge where right over here behind him, which is where Tengboche Monastery is. So another beautiful day, November. You see this guy here in shorts and just, layering. These are where the porters put down their loads. way down there is about a 3,000-foot drop down to the river below. Before I forget, Steve, good friend Steve Tickle, he's speaking tomorrow at 6 o'clock as well. On trekking in Nepal. Steve came on a trek with me a zillion years ago, and we just became great friends, and he now leads treks to Nepal, and is a great guy and a great guide. And so, yeah, he'll be speaking tomorrow. So this is a group I took on this comfort trek, and yeah, we got a little, this was in April, we got a little dusting of snow one morning, which was really fun, especially for the people from Hawaii. And this is on our high point above the lodge, looking down the valley out Mount Everest. So you want to have a down jacket, you know, wool hat, gloves, those kinds of things to put on. This shows, this is where the Everest View Hotel is. That'll be one of our high points. And then yeah, there's Tangboche Monastery on this ridge. There's a hike up to it. And then you wind your way up here and then go left around to Everest Base Camp. This is the Lhotse Nutse Wall, Everest with the climbing route right here, the West Ridge. This is Ama Dablan, 24,000 feet high. This is Chakung Ri, 19,000 foot high. Chamsirku, 22,000. Chalotsi, 20,000. So this is our high point, and you just get a great view down the valley of Mount Everest. So it's a fabulous experience. And if you are a little hardier, certainly going all the way to Everest Base Camp is an option, but it's generally about a 3-week trip, 15 days on the trail, whereas and I strongly recommend people read books such as Trekking in Nepal by Stephen Bezruka. Also, there's Trekking in the Nepal Himalayas by Stan Armington, Lonely Planet. And another good one is Mountain Sickness Prevention, Recognition, and Treatment by Peter Hackett, good friend of mine, Dr. Peter, who is one of the world's renowned high altitude physiologists. I spent a couple of months with him up on Denali at a research and rescue center. But if you follow the guidelines, you'll do fine. And but you got to go slow, and it's experience, and how you feel is not an indication of whether you should move on. So there's certain places, like every 2,000 feet, you should spend 2 nights, whether you feel like it or feel good or not. And otherwise, we had so many groups, oh yeah, you don't need to take 14 days. And we either see them being sick by the sail or coming down looking green, and they didn't make it. And so, you know, what's the point in if you don't feel good, or someone in your group gets sick? Your whole trip's ruined just because of a couple of days. So take your time. And I've taken, yeah, people from Hawaii, California, Florida, and it's no problem to yeah, get up there. So this is a typical group evening in a lodge, and people can be as groupy or ungroupy as they like. But I like to wear cotton or, you know, wool in the evening, get out of my synthetics, and you know, grab a shower, get comfortable. And this was our high point, yeah, 15,500 feet. A couple of the guys wanted to hike up there with me, so that was a great experience. We had a great day, and I'm always up for taking people on side hikes and you know, have them experience this. This is the shoes I have now. People ask me what are the best hiking shoes, and I say the ones that fit you the best. Excuse me. And so, yeah, I've worn shoes like this all the way to Everest Base Camp. It can get, you know, rocky up higher on the glacier, the dry glacier. So you might want some ankle protection. I've got strong ankles, and, you know, I'm wearing these now in Utah, and I'll probably take them to Nepal in the fall. You know, they'll do fine. So if you have aspirations of climbing Everest, I was there in 91 and 2003 for the Hillary bicentennial, and this is what it's like now. You know, no fun, standing waiting for that. those people will be there hours. And I did, when I was there in 91, there was 100 people on the mountain. 2003, there was thousands. And I've been, here first up, and, I ended up the second time. First time I got caught in a storm, got bronchitis and pneumonia, came down. Second time I ended up, did 5 rescues. And last summit day, I turned around and brought a Sherpa down. Unfortunately, he died in the ice fall, which is very tragic. But his family actually thanked me in Kathmandu when I went to the funeral for bringing his body down through the ice fall, which was not easy, because he was a Buddhist and a Lama, and they were going to cremate him. And with their religion, they believe that he'll be reincarnated. So I feel good about my decision to. I felt like I took the right path with that situation. So let's see what other folk. We just got a couple more here. And so this is on top of Island Peak. I've climbed it 6 times. It's changed dramatically because of non-existent global warming. Was an easy kind of snow ramp, and now it's kind of got a knife edge ridge, and it's a lot tougher. So, but one of my greatest days, climbed it with Pemba Tenzing, got Everest in the background, Lhotse behind, and oh my gosh. So there are other peaks out there that aren't as high as Everest, a lot cheaper, a lot fewer people, and you'll have a heck of a lot more fun. So, some people say, well, I'd love to climb Everest. Well, there's people that say, I'd like to climb Denali. I say, why don't you go to Mount Rainier for 3 days, see if you can handle 3 weeks on Denali, and if you potentially then can handle 3 months on Everest. It's a lot of being uncomfortable and a lot of suffering. That's what mountaineering's all about. So let's see what else I got here. Yeah, so for my 50th birthday, I invited 20 friends for 20 days, and we climbed the 20,000-foot peak, Island Peak. And some of my best friends are in this shot. We just had the best time. So for whatever reason, I attract cool people that enjoy each other, and I'd love to show you Nepal, introduce you to my Sherpa friends. And I've never had an accident, never had anyone with me have an accident, and I plan to keep it that way. And I'll take very good care of you. So, and I used to say, and it's kind of a little cocky, but I used to say, if you don't go with me, you probably won't go. So I'm going. I'm inviting you to join me. And I'll take very good care of you and make sure you're acclimatized, make sure I'm a certified fitness trainer, certified yoga teacher. I'll make sure you get in shape. You don't have to be in great shape. It's kind of a misconception. I took a guy that was about, 70 pounds overweight, did fine because he walked slowly. If I get an application and it says marathon runner, that's when I get concerned, because they think that fitness is gonna, get them through, whereas fitness is not an indication necessarily of how well you'll do at altitude. And I've taken people that didn't walk or train one bit, and they did fine. So we just go slow. Slow is better. It helps your acclimatization. It's not a cardiovascular thing. You're not running up these hills. So, just being in decent walking shape, having your feet in shape to walk. But the days aren't necessarily long because the altitude, often we'll get into a lunch place by the camping lodge place by lunchtime. So, people think, oh, it's the Himalayas. I have to be a marathon runner, mountain goat. No, you don't. I've taken 75-year-olds to Everest Base Camp, and they have done fine. So if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to chat with you and, talk about where you're at and what you might need to do. But gosh, if you go to the gym, if you hit the treadmill, you go on a weekend hike for the 4 weeks before you go, you will do fine. So love to take you to Nepal. Let's see, was there any questions there, Adan, that came through?
Gary, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Great. I don't see any here. I have a couple of people watching. I Everest is sort of the one of the top peak. I mean, obviously, literally at the top of the world, and it's high on a lot of people's lists. And I think that maybe sometimes people forget about just visiting base camp or doing an Annapurna circuit or visiting and spending more time with the culture and the people in that area. So, what I love about your presentation that it sort of there's summit aspirations, there's cultural aspirations, there's taking it slow and enjoying your time there. Because I think one thing that stuck out to me is sort of the time commitment that one to explore a place like this. You don't want to go for a week. It would take you a week to get there, maybe comfortably before you kind of settle in and really kind of unpack your stuff. So I remember one time I was going to South America for the first time, and I was like, I'm going to spend a year because that's what the kind of time I had for myself. I was very fortunate in that time in my life.
sure.
But really came back with a much different understanding and really able to just now here working at the shop help people understand what it's like to go to
Sure.
South America or wherever it may be. And in this case, Everest for you. So, um,
Yeah, and it's a very select group of people that want to climb Everest, and
yes, yeah.
it's very expensive, $30,000 to $80,000, depending on what star rating you want.
Sure.
And for people interested, and even trekking to Everest Base Camp is not for everyone,
Yeah.
and it's not. It's not a very comfortable experience, and you're going to spend a lot of time in uncomfortable situations, and that's why I called the trek I'm doing the comfort trek.
The comfort trek.
Because it's going to be comfortable. You're not going to get sick. You're not going to have problems with the altitude. The distances are short. There's side trips. It's going to be very culturally interesting. We're going to interact with the Sherpas a lot, stay in great lodges with your, bedroom, bathroom, but for people that are interested in Nepal, or I did write a book about 12 years ago called Summit Strategies, which is Secrets to Mastering the Everest in Your Life. It's an easy read. Forward is by Dick Bass, who was the first person to climb the 7 summits. And he actually told me, he said, this is the book that he wanted to write. Because I tell climbing and mountaineering and travel stories, and then I relate it back to life. So it's kind of a self-help book on taking your goals from A to Z, and how you can apply these lessons that I learned in the mountains to day-to-day life.
Gary,
As I did,
looks like we got a question that popped in here.
okay.
The person says, "Sorry, entered late, but interested in knowing more about prices, dates. Wondering if they can, if I can type in, is it rightpathadventures.com?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll type that into the chat box there.
yeah.
Right.
And everything's on my website. Happy to chat with them. And so this is a photo from the Dolomites, where I've spent, as I said, the last 10 years, except for last year during the summer. And I will be talking about the Dolomites of Northern Italy Wednesday from 2 to 3 o'clock. And I'll be also talking about Croatia, Slovenia, and Slovakia, where I also take groups. I've got a couple of spaces left on a couple of these trips this fall. I've done probably 40 or 50 trips to Croatia and Slovenia. Great experience.
Wow.
More active adventures, whereas the Dolomites is more walking. But we stay in lodges, carry day packs. Once again, 4-star lodging, incredible gourmet food, wine, beer, you name it. And Croatia, Slovenia, and Slovakia is more an active walking adventure. Yeah, so here my company is called Right Path. Oh, Right Path Adventures, and that's also the website. But yeah, I love talking to people about travel. Would be happy to help people plan a trip, and happy to answer any questions as they come up. But yeah, my trek this fall, as I said, I've got 3 treks. 2 are already sold out. And the last one is, why can't I find that? Oh yeah, November 22nd or December 3rd. Because we're using the best lodges, we only get 5 or 6 rooms. And it's $39.95. 12 years ago, I looked up the price and I charged $3,200. So I'm not really allowing for inflation. But anyway, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to everyone. I'm always available to help. There is a lot of information you can find on the internet, but I recommend being humble. Going to Nepal, it can really humble people. And 1 in 1,000 trekkers get killed in one way or another in the Himalayas. So it's a good idea to go with a guide. And as I said, if you don't go with me, you might not go. And I'm going and I'm inviting you. So thank you so much, Midwest Mountaineering. I'm sad not to be there this year, but hopefully next year before, yeah.
In the spring, or probably hopefully
In the
next fall.
spring, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. I just want to mention that the expo is going on through Saturday, May 2nd. We got many more presentations coming up. Dolomites, as Gary mentioned, and his Slovenia, Croatia presentation as well. Definitely come into the shop and chat with one of our sales staff about any and all your adventures. We'll help you figure out how to use the gear, how to take care of it. And then, Gary brings up a good point, going to places and visiting places that you haven't been, there's a lot of information on the net, but oftentimes it's good to go right to the source, and a guide will give you some great information and help you along the way. So thanks a lot, Gary. I look forward to our other presentations with you, and thanks for helping us put on another great show here at the Expo.
Terrific.
Have a
Thank you
great
so
night.
much.
You're welcome.
And
See you soon.
see you later.
Bye.
Bye.